The story starts. While walking home, Sheena saw people rushing out to a convenience store. And two girls tripped next to him. A thief saw him and went rushing to kill him. But instead of abandoning the girls, Sheena rushed towards the thief, tackling him down. He told the girls to run, but the thief accidentally hit him and started bleeding, causing the bandit to run away. In his last breath, he was glad to save the girls. To his surprise, he wakes up as a toddler in another world. He is shocked by his surroundings, but his mom and maid are glad he has awakened. He was asleep for a week for unknown reasons. He is happy to be reincarnated as Cain von Silford. He learns much about this magical fantasy world, especially about his family. Garm's father, Sarah, his mother, who is Garm's second wife, Riani, his older sister by a year, and maid Sylvia. Garm's first wife is Maria, and he has borne two sons, Jin and Alec. The family acts as a protector of the southern part of the kingdom of Esfort, where it is located close to the forest of monsters. But take relief that there are adventurers who help in dealing with monsters, so the burden doesn't fall solely on them. Cain retains his past memories, which means he can read and write. To his family, he is a genius. As for magic, he must undergo a baptism ritual when he turns 5. But unknown to them, Cain can actually use magic already. He is eager to study more about this world. When Cain turns 5, he is taken to the priest for baptism. Suddenly, a great light emits from the statues. Cain finds himself among the gods of this world. Zenem, the god of creation, introduces himself and will explain everything. Rime, the god of reincarnation and birth, further adds that he wasn't meant to die on that day. The robber was supposed to trip, and everyone else jumped on him. And now the robber is charged with murder. Hence, Kazuya's heroics weren't needed. To atone for that mistake, he is reincarnated into this world. Cain is happy for this second chance, so all the gods grant him their blessing, and that increases his stats to way above his maximum, and Zenem conceals it. When he returns to his family, they ponder that great light, as it has never happened before. Then they check his status and are shocked to see that he is blessed with everything. Garm warns him not to tell others, and everyone in this room must keep it a secret, for he will be targeted. One night, Cain tries to test his magic and summons a monster. It is about to attack Riani, so this time he thinks he has magic and can be brave enough to stop it. He gets owned, although the monster is defeated. He gets back up like nothing has happened. As everybody celebrates Cain's 5th birthday, Garm says he cannot inherit his estate, but may wish for something else. He wants to be an adventurer, travel, and learn lots of things. Meanwhile, the gods deliberated on giving Cain the maximum stats. Zenem says that Cain needs to be very strong by 16, if not the continent's strongest denizen, as they require his strength. In order to help Cain gain some knowledge before he goes out into the world, Garm hires a couple of personal tutors, Millie and Nina. They will teach him for 3 years. Cain already excels in swordsmanship and is way better than Nina. The same with magic too. So the teachers get permission from Garm to train Cain outside the mansion for intermediary lessons, or else he'll destroy the mansion. As expected, Cain's magic is so huge that it leaves behind a crater, even destroying a pack of attacking killer rabbits. The teachers forbade him to continue chasing the rest into the forest since there are deadlier monsters in there. Back home, Cain is further dismayed because he leveled up so much. The gods must be laughing. Nina and Millie bring Cain to the guild to see what quests they can take. Some punks try to force themselves on the ladies. Cain fights back to show who's boss. He is so fast and can even stop a sword with his fingers. It is safe to say that those punks got their asses handed to them. Later, Cain goes out at night to hunt monsters for their skin to craft them into magic boxes for his tutors. So great was his attack that the town thought a monster invasion was going to happen and sounded the alarm. Garm leads his men on a frantic charge into the forest, but they find nothing, just a crater. And Garm thinks it's his son because that handkerchief Cain left accidentally behind. As Millie and Nina graduate Cain, he gives them the magic boxes as thanks. They are surprised it can hold items as big as a mansion. Before they part ways, the ladies give him a kiss on the cheek. When he gets back, Cain gets lectured by Garm about his recklessness. 2 years later, Cain and his family are on their way to the royal capital. Cain senses orcs attacking a carriage in front, so he rushes ahead to defeat them all single-handedly. That's not all. He heals the injured. Inside the carriage are Princess Telestia Terra Esfort and Silk von Santana's daughter. After he uses magic to ease their anxiety, they're both smitten by him. They can't let go of him as they ride together towards the capital. Even when they stop to rest, they want him to sleep with them. Upon arriving, Cain hands over the bodies of the knights to Dame von Gazard, the vice-captain of the Royal Knights. Then he is suddenly made to have an audience with the king. Expressing his gratitude, the king promotes him to the title of Baron, and he will have his own land and mansion. The crowd is abuzz with protests. However, the king shuts them up, asking if they could do what Cain did, and it is pointless to keep such a talented young man in a powerless position. After the audience, the king as well as Silk's father, Eric, personally met Cain behind closed doors to personally thank him. They also discuss Cain's future. He wants Cain to marry both Telestia and Silk. They will get officially married when they are of age, and now they are only engaged. After all, Cain slept with them. Not even Garm can help him out on this one. And just like that, Cain sealed his doom as he accepted the engagement. Just like any normal guy, Cain can't sit by and watch his sister go shopping for clothes. Luckily, he stumbles upon an old friend nearby, Parma, who is undergoing training in her uncle's shop. Cain remembers that the gods want him to create some recreational stuff from his old world here. Cain has Tamani's help create a prototype board game we all know as Reversi. He accepts the task and, a few days later, finishes the prototype. They test play, and of course, it's a wonderful and simple game. Cain also wants to present this game to the royal family. Tamani's is troubled at first, but once again accepts the task of producing the goods. Now it is time for Cain to attend his debut ceremony. He meets Eric and Silk as they officially introduce each other. Cain and his family then have an audience with the king and his daughter. With Telestia all over him, the king is starting to call Cain a philanderer. Cain then introduces Reversi. The king would like to talk more about this as well as his treatment of his daughter behind closed doors. Cain then rejoins Silk, but several snobbish noble kids led by habit come to confront Cain, thinking he would be some easy meat to bully as well as impressing Silk at the same time. They had Cain step out for a duel. Those jerks are trying to show off their magic, which all comes off as just freaking weak. Silk then puts her foot down and tells them that Cain is not the son of a baron, but a baron himself. The bullies get scared of their disrespect and get out of his sight. Silk blackmails Cain to keep this a secret as long as he dates her. Great timing, as Telestia is here and wants in on this secret. After learning they're going on a date, she too wants one. The king is here and heard this, so he really needs to talk to Cain privately. The girls don't care and continue to snuggle close to him. Back in the private room, the king and Eric allow Cain, the philanderer, to date their daughters. Everybody wants to play Reversi with Cain. For now, Cain checks out the mansion the king has given him. It's abandoned and dirty. Cain used magic to clean everything up in a second. He even has all the furniture placed all over too. Sylvia has brought a few maids who will be permanently stationed here. Cain will also have a new butler, Colin. Cain then returns to Garm's residence to meet his other brothers, who have returned. Then he gives the family a tour of his new house, and they are particularly impressed with this. To everyone's shock, there's a huge taxidermy of a rare red dragon Cain defeated some time ago in the hall. Cain now has a headache because he has to invite nobles for housewarming. As he stresses how to go about this, Sylvia advises him to give his guests his own style of hospitality. When everything is done and all the invitations are sent out, suddenly Cain gets summoned by the king. Apparently, he is envious that he didn't get an invitation. Eric was freaking out about getting his. Luckily, Cain has brought one for him. The king becomes so happy like a kid. The party starts as everyone is treated to this fizzy drink as well as Hamburg steak. The king is also amazed by this, and even more so by the toilet. He must have this in his palace by tomorrow. Everybody applauds when the king gives Cain his highest praise. Now Marquis Corgino is here. He is one of the few who hates Cain, and he is still not impressed. Cain treats him kindly and with the utmost hospitality, but he continues looking down on him. Not until the king showed up to tell him off about his attitude. Cain apologizes and goes off. When Silk notes Cain being a sneaky boy for planning all this, Cain admits to it, but doesn't realize he just admitted using the king for this. The king is not impressed with being used as his tool and enjoys every second of it. Needing space to put all his monsters, this storage room won't be enough. It'll take the entire arena. Dame is so impressed that he wants Cain to meet his captain and spar with the guards. He shows his stuff, and when the whole army is about to take on him, Tijuana von Liebert thinks they're picking on a poor kid. But when she learns who Cain is, she gets all excited to fight him. As the best soldier in the kingdom, she is given a run for her money until she loses. With that, Tijuana wants to marry Cain. Cain gives excuses, and since it's come to this, Tijuana wants to speak to the king. So the king and his subjects hear about this as they tell Cain a bit of history about the elf nation of Liebert. Tijuana is a princess of that nation, although the land is under Esfort's protection. The king then gives the confidential details of Cain's engagement. Not that she is fazed. She is told she needs to get written permission from her father, so she'll promptly do that. As they suspect Cain is not what he is, they think of putting him to the test. After Cain's many mock fights with Tijuana, he is once again called by the king. He is given a book written by the first king, Yuuyatera Harasawa Esfort, which contains very high-level magic. Cain is amazed as he reads some of the magic not found in libraries. But that is where they catch him. It is written in Japanese, and none of them could read it. Cain realizes the first king is also reincarnated from another world. No use keeping a secret. He tells the truth that shocks all of them. The king wants to have his citizens bow at him, but Cain refuses because he prefers life the way it is now. He is blessed with wonderful family and friends, and there is nothing more in this life that he wants than this. Everyone agrees. But one last thing. The king offers him to be king instead. Now it gets complicated as Tijuana returns with written permission to get married. Cain is being dragged into more dates against his will. Later, he has to answer the unimpressed Telestia and Silk about getting more wives. Cain reads more about Yuuya and learns he was summoned and retained his physical form rather than being reborn. This is interrupted when his fiancées want to study together. Luckily, he gives excuses he can't. Out of the pan and into the fire because now his elf fiancée wants to date. Luckily, he manages to give her the slip too. Because now that he has reached 12 years old, he can register at the Adventurer Guild. He does so under the guidance of receptionist Resha, but when unruly punks want to teach Cain a lesson, he dodges them and makes a fool out of them. This farce is stopped when Claude comes into the picture. The punks leave as Cain meets his acquaintance with this rank adventurer. Too bad his wife, Lena, comes to take him away for a quest. Cain decides to take on this quest to defeat goblins. Tijuana invites herself to join him. In the forest, Tijuana shows off her strength by defeating the horde. Then it's Cain's turn, and he subsequently vanquished a pack of green lizards. Back at the guild, as Cain reports this to Resha, she is shocked that he managed to kill tough green lizards and has her chief, Cedric, ascertain this. However, Cedric is hell-bent. Cain cheated because there is no way for a rookie like him who registered today to defeat a bunch of green lizards on his own. He revokes his license. But luckily, the guild master, Eden, shows other proof, like how this kid is engaged to his sister Tijuana and that he is of the Baron title and son of Garm. Cedric realizes he is in trouble, so he apologizes. It's death to those who insult nobles. Luckily, Cain won't do that. Seeing Cain's achievements, Eden would love to raise him to C rank. But since he already defeated a red dragon before, he is going to be in a rank. But first, he must defeat some bandits. Soon enough, Cain gets his a rank gold card. As all the gods are watching Cain's great achievements, Zenom reveals that the seal on Aaron is weakening. 300 years ago, they sealed him, so they don't know what will happen now. That's why they are thinking of making Cain even stronger by training under the sky. Meanwhile, Cain needs to explain to Telestia and Silk about his date with Tijuana in the forest. Cain goes to take the entrance exam at the Royal Academy. He breezes through the written test in 30 minutes, and for the magic test, not only does he blow away the wall, but he destroys the forest behind it. The teacher should have taken him off, but he continues his test with the swordsmanship. The students are to spar with skilled adventurers. One of them is Claude, so he spars with Cain. Their epic sparring is scaring off the kids. Later, He is summoned by the king for that ruckus during the magic test. Cain wants a place to test this emperor-level magic, but they're not going to allow it. Then, as pointed out, Cain took the wrong entrance to the exam and went to do his with commoners instead of nobles. That is why Silk and Telestia were nowhere to be found. When the principal told Eric about that exceptional kid, he couldn't laugh his ass off, knowing it was Cain. The results are out, and of course Cain is at the top of the class. Sylvia is so happy that Cain has admitted that she is going to cook a feast for him. The entrance ceremony begins, and as the top student, Cain is chosen to give his speech. After that, the king personally comes to address everyone. Cain is in the same class as Silk and Telestia as they discuss what course to major in. Later, Cain sees those bullies trying to bully Parma. If Cain pointing out equality in this school is not enough, here comes Silk and Telestia to render those bullies scared, apologize, and run away with their tails between their legs. As the girls become friends, Cain hears a voice. He follows it to a library, and this guy knows about Cain's previous life. This guy is actually Yuuya. He is actually still alive after 300 years, and he has become the god of this world that he created. As for why Cain was brought here, Zenom asked him to train him because they were short on time. He lets Cain know about the evil god known as Aaron, who made people fight and kill each other. The seal has weakened, and he might be resurrected. Cain is then whisked to another dimension, where he has to fight his way through monsters to level up. It might take years, but a year here is only a day in his world. Meanwhile, Sylvia, Silk, and Telestia are worried he is missing and could be kidnapped. The only way is to believe in him and wait at his mansion until he returns. For 4 years, Cain fights his way through the forest and even gains a familiar wolf, Haku. Finally, he reaches the mansion at the top of the hill, where Yuuya is waiting. As promised, he will tell more about his previous life. Since his training hasn't ended, Cain now trains under Durain. So as he undergoes the training, Cain remembers all that Yuuya has said to him. Aaron used to be the god of amusement in the previous world. He created games and amusement. The previous one was the killer. He made the people have a death game with each other. Because of that, he was banished. If he returns, he is going to make everyone he cares about enter this death game again, and Cain is linked to Aaron. He explains that Kazuya's parents were killed and given the Ice Sky treatment too. They joined Yuuya in bringing down Aaron. Unfortunately, Aaron was too powerful, and they had to sacrifice themselves to give Yuuya the chance to seal him. After a year, Cain finally beats Durain. He pays respects to his parents' grave at Yuuya's place. Cain thanks Yuuya for taking care of them. Now that he can go back to his world, Yuuya reverts him back to a child. Before he leaves, Durain also gives him his dragon familiar, Jin. The guys believe Cain can grow stronger than them since he has something much greater to protect. Cain returns home, much to the relief of his girls. They baked him cookies, and he is so happy chowing them down, though he is still going to get lectured for his disappearance. Cain reports to the king about his absence and proves with this sword that he was training with Yuuya for 5 years. But soon he is reminded to head over to the guild immediately, or his adventure license will be cancelled. That is because he hasn't taken up a quest within a specific period of time, and the deadline is closing in. Cain will accept whatever quest will also fast-track him to a rank. That quest seems to be defeating bandits who are harassing Millie and Nina's carriage. Dumb guys, look down at this kid and get their asses handed to them. Millie and Nina are surprised to learn all about Cain's achievements. Then they also stumble into Claude and Lena. Apparently, Claude is Millie's older brother. They have a drink and talk all about Cain's achievements. When Lena finds out about the super bag he created for Millie and Nina, she hopes Cain will also make one for her. She is pretty desperate and drunk. Cain then remembers he has school to attend, so he rushes his way back. Soon, Resha is trying to look for a substitute teacher to replace an injured one as Claude gets an idea. At school, Cain is bummed out that he is forbidden to use any magic since all the teachers note how powerful he is. His class gets a shock when Claude and others are here to be their substitute teachers. Claude is trying to expose Cain's rank as he makes the students show their adventure cards. Cain can't freak them out, so he says he forgot to bring it. During practical, Cain is itching to fight them, But it seems Claude and others fight other students first with the intention of showing their greatness before Cain displays his awesomeness. Too bad there is a long queue for it, and by the time Cain gets to fight Claude, class is over. Cain is so frustrated that he is taking out monsters and burning down the forest. So much so that the town guards think some prince of darkness has revived, and all of them, led by Garm, go all out to subjugate this threat. A large crater and the handkerchief were left behind. Meanwhile, Aaron is close to resurrection. Today's class teaches students how to summon a familiar and possibly make a contract with them. And Cain summons a demon lord named Seth. Cain thought Seth was going to kill him, but then he prostrates himself and is willing to form a contract with him. This gets known by the king and his subjects, so they have Cain show his ridiculous status once more. It's off the charts and immeasurable now. Cain is like a demigod now. The king then says he will have an audience soon. He will make Cain a viscount with his own town to rule. He is to prove that if he can protect a town, he is worthy of protecting a kingdom. If he is successful, he will make their engagement official. He will accept no objections. Soon, Cain gets called by Jinn because monsters in the nearby forest of his domain are running amok. Jinn needs his help, so as Cain goes down to do recon, he also meets Nina and Millie, who have been called to help with the case. As they have already been into the forest, they have found very strong monsters. Cain then goes to investigate himself, this time calling Seth. Seth then summons one of his generals, Dalmatia, to conduct further investigations. Cain slays more monsters and brings them back to the guild, as everyone confirms that these are very strong monsters that no ordinary adventurer can handle. They need to strengthen the watch. Meanwhile, Dalmatia detects the source of the monsters running amok. Some are even being drawn to it. It is Aaron, so he thinks it is game time as he sets more monsters to rampage and devour the humans. Sensing this, Seth returns to report to Cain. Everybody is not as strong, and Cain is relegated to protecting the town. Demigod and the Demon Lord go on to fight the monsters and confront Aaron. Cain has no time to deal with the monsters. He leaves it to Seth while he goes face to face with Aaron. Seth summons his 4 generals, who are in shock to hear how he contracted to a chosen one. At the same time, Claude's side can't be satisfied with just evacuating everyone, so they head to the forest to kill some monsters. However, their numbers are too overwhelming, and they are tiring out. At this rate, they might die. Tijuana and her cavalry arrive for reinforcements. Now we see the epic power battle between Cain and Aaron. As Aaron is not fully awakened, he has to borrow this dragon's body. Despite his powers, which aren't back to 100%, they still pack a punch. Cain has a hard time fighting him. Until Haku and Jin get injured in an attack and Aaron mocks Cain as the dog of the gods. Cain refutes that this has anything to do with them, and he is doing this to protect the smiles of those he loves. And that is the cue needed for him to go super. The bright pillar of light blasts away everything. Cain is so focused on defeating Aaron that his pets, as well as Seth, have to stop him before he blows further into a huge crater in the landscape. Aaron has escaped, but Cain is happy to be reunited with his friends. In the aftermath, Cain gets lectured by the king, who, for the umpteenth time, is hearing all the overboard things about how he died and everyone thought God had descended. The king wants to resign and just let him marry Telestra, but his subjects can't allow that. And soon there was an audience in which the king officially granted Cain his own domain to rule. However, when his girls learn it is Dorenthal, they want to protest since that town is lawless. However, Cain remains positive that they can build it back up better. More heart attack surprises for the king as he learns Cain picked a fight with the ruffians upon entering Dorenthal, destroyed an area, got arrested, stormed into the church when they taxed too much, and even built a wall, a castle that is far greater than his. Even Seth is running to Cain for help because his wife, Lafon, kicked him out for his infidelity. Cain and his girls blame Seth for this as the ladies continue to chew out the demon lord about cheating. Cain feels that this is going to apply to him as well.